Welcome to Joyce Louise Killebrew's official site. Discover her inspiring books that celebrate faith, resilience, and empowerment. Browse her collection, learn more about her work, and purchase your copy today.
Hey ladies and gentlemen, I'm here with my wonderful grandmother, Joyce Killebrew. She has been a true inspiration to me as a young person growing up, me and my siblings actually. And one of the things, Granny, I remember when we were kids, you always told us we're intelligent. You always told us you're smart. And that really resonated with me as a kid. And you would even help us with our college essays and things of that nature. But where did you even get that kind of, speaking over someone? Like, where did that kind of come from?
Well,
And the importance of that.
as a young girl, I lived with my grandmother and her husband, Lottie Carey and Joseph Brown. Lottie Carey Brown and Joseph Brown.
Okay.
And my grandmother was a real inspiration to everyone.
Oh, wow.
She was dominating. She wrote a poem in the Proclamation. It's published in the Proclamation, and I refer to her as my hero. Well, it was one thing about my grandmother, Lottie Carey Brown. She emulated the Van Horns, or the Van whatever, the white people that she worked for as a maid. And she wanted to be inspirational to her children and her grandchildren. And I really, really appreciated the fact that my Brown family, because she was married to my granddad, and so my Brown family always told me, "You're smart." And that is what I passed on to you and my grandsons. The first thing I told Marcus was, "You're intelligent." Because intelligence is a big thing. And someone once told me, when I was a shirt presser, they said they would return the shirts that weren't pressed correctly, and they would take off 5 cents. Well, I needed all of my money. So I told the young ladies I was working with, I said, let's add 5 to each package we press. And the manager found out. And I told him, he said, "I don't pay you to think." And I looked at him and I smiled just as nicely. I said, well, to myself, one day, someone is gonna pay me to think. And therefore, I got that inspiration. And my manager was very nice to me, but he overstepped his bounds to tell me what I couldn't do. Because there's one thing I believe in.
Not to Joyce Louise. That's one thing I know. Can't just say anything.
There's one thing I believe in. Some people will tell you what you can't do while other people are doing it, and I do believe in that.
That's good. Well, thank you, Joyce. For those who may not know you yet, how would you describe yourself as a storyteller and as a writer?
I love to tell stories because when I was young, I used to love to read. And reading produces a thought process in your head. I was reading books that I should not have been reading. I first started reading Archie comic books. And then I was reading fairy tales like Snow White, Cinderella. And I came to realize that fairy tales are really true. Fairy tales tell what's happening to people. Like the story of Cinderella is a story of a young woman who had wealth and her stepmother tried to steal the wealth. Little Red Riding Hood is a story telling people to beware of these old wolves out in the street who are after these young ladies.
Right.
So all of these fairy tales have an essence to them. Now, years ago, you could not talk about the kings and queens of various aristocracies, because if you did, woe be unto you, because they would, if they didn't like what you said, they would sometimes, even one of Shakespeare's relatives was dragged through the streets and slaughtered. So the aristocracies were not kind. In many instances, they're the ones who perpetuated an inferior complex onto Americans.
And for those who may not know aristocracies, what is that? Just like, tyrants, rulers,
the royalties, the kings
and queens,
the aristocracies, and then after that there were the aristocrats.
Okay. Yeah.
And then after that there were the bourgeois, which so many people relate to bourgeois because they think that's high class.
Right.
But the bourgeois were basically traders and merchants who made their way up in society.
Is that where bougie came from?
That is the word, bougie. And if you speak properly and you don't use ebonics, people will say, "Oh, you're bougie." No, you're not bougie. I'm a trained professional teacher of English, first of all. And I got my degree at the Federal City College, which later became the University of the District of Columbia.
Okay.
I am very, very grateful to John Fitzgerald Kennedy. Of course, after his assassination, Lyndon Baines Johnson did sign, and I'm grateful to these two American presidents because I was able to get an education.
So Joyce, you've written across various genres, from your genealogy to fairy tales to even some fictional books. How would you say, or what made you start your writing journey?
Basically, sometimes people don't listen to you, and I wanted to tell my story. So my very first book that I started writing was I'm a Love Child. And then I wanted to do a Howard Stern, which he comes in and says things to shock you. And so I added, "Don't call me bastard." And my minister objected to that. So eventually I changed that.
Okay.
And I got another title.
Okay.
But, sometimes we do things that we shouldn't do. And we have to make atonement. And I love this book because it does give a true portrait of my life. And in here I went to the Orphans Court of Maryland to establish paternity because my father was listed on my birth certificate. He was only 16 and about 17 when I was born. And, I went to see him when I was 18 and it wasn't a good experience. But everything turned out so well. And just like the old people say, you'll understand it better by and by. So now I've come to terms with all of that, and I've been speaking to my brother on his side, and we argue, and I see his personality is somewhat like mine.
Yeah, and I'll just add, I definitely think, God has a funny way of, when we go through certain things, is our testimony to others, and I'm sure you could attest to that as part of your story. You've been able to encourage so many men and women, of course.
Yes, and I've been encouraged by so many men and women because I started teaching adults from different cultures, Nigeria, Jamaica, and basically all of my teaching career, I was teaching multicultural students. And I learned so much from these students. How can students teach a teacher so much?
So Granny, I want to kind of segue into about your Queen Leah book. And you also had a Queen Leah pageant.
I did.
Yeah, I was fortunate and my brothers to be a part of. And literally seeing you put this pageant together, you rented out a hotel, you had all the women from different parts of the world come and participate. Can you tell me a little bit about, one, how you wrote the book, and we'll get into how the pageant started and what was your inspiration?
Well, my inspiration was I was losing my vision. And suddenly, like the old slaver, John Newton, and a lot of people don't even know John Newton's name, but John Newton was a slave master on a slave ship. He was a captain. And John Newton, after a while, he saw the cruelty that was done to the slaves, or the enslaved people, and he asked God to forgive him. He wrote the song, Amazing Grace, which is really, really read in just about every Baptist church in the United States of America. And some people don't even know the history.
Sport games.
Really?
Yeah,
I didn't know that myself.
Yeah, they do it at sporting events too.
Wow.
Yeah, some sporting events, not all of them.
Wow.
Yeah,
but John Newton was a slaver,
Mm-hmm.
and he was the captain of a slave ship.
Mm-hmm.
And I had to somehow, it was inspirational of God to say, hey, we are people. We need, and what all people need and want, love, respect, and appreciation.
Absolutely.
So I had all of these children, especially when I was teaching at Francis Junior High School, and I told them, snapped at them really, read some fairy tales. And they told me, well, Mrs. Killebrew, do you know any black fairy tales? Well, I knew about Little Black Sambo, but I didn't particularly like that. I thought it was a little derogatory. So the minute after I retired, what I did was write Queen Leah's story. And at first I wanted to focus on young black men, but somehow I said I need to hit these mothers because we are the mothers of civilization, and we persuade our children in many, many ways. Because for the first maybe 10 years of their lives, and then later they switch over to their fathers, but so many of them don't have fathers.
Right.
So it's very important that black people see themselves in a very, very positive light.
Yeah.
Because we are
Absolutely.
the mothers and fathers of civilization. And I've done enough studying to know that.
Yeah. There's a song by, I'm forgetting his name, but it's called Black Superhero. I encourage y'all to check that out. I'll get his name later, but Black Superhero, and it's about edifying, black women, black men, and really the them being superheroes to our community.
Yes.
And in that music video, it's about showing them even as almost like black angels, and how we are to again just kind of instill this better narrative and portrayal of our people. So
Yes, the portrayal of enslaved people has been extraordinarily negative in this country, and it's happening today.
Yeah.
That is why we got into the proclamation by Sergeant Joyce Killebrew.
Yeah, we'll definitely get there.
Yeah.
So let's please, remember to get there. So I have one of your books here. This is like more of your, I guess I could say like it's encompassing of your pageant, your series. Because this isn't the exact book, but this is a series, encompassing how the pageant has pictures in here. As you all can see, stories, people who were part of the program. Right, here's some pictures here. Can you tell us, actually, here's a good picture here. What do you remember about this?
This was the last Queen Leah pageant. No, the one before the last one. And this is my husband who crowned Queen Leah. And this is Queen Leah, Karen, and the other young lady is the princess. But we really enjoyed that festival that time. Queen Leah, and part of the series, it's an enhancement for little children, smaller children, and it's a career educator's guide because, we really didn't put in all of the stories that we had because it was too expensive.
Okay. So can you tell me a little bit more about what inspired you to actually start a pageant from a fairy tale book?
I get ideas. Like I said, I'm a creative thinker. In fact, pretty soon I'm having a new book come out, and it says every poem needs a creative poet. So I started being more creative instead of competitive, because competitiveness is not really what I'm seeking or what most people are seeking. But that is what is happening now. We get competitive and we move against each other instead of being creative.
Right, that's good.
And just doing the things that we want to do in life.
Okay. And so I like that you said like creative instead of competitiveness. I do think I see a lot of times that can even stifle us from just taking action on something that we might be inspired to do, right? Because you're so worried about, is it going to work out, or are people going to like it? And sometimes you just gotta try and, take an effort at it, and then you never know who's on the opposite end is going to receive it. So is that kind of how it worked out for like the pageant? And did you envision, hundreds of people coming to this event and applying for scholarships, right? Because
we did award scholarships.
Yeah, talk a little bit about that.
Well, the winner received $2,000 for the first Queen Leah, but she got only $1,000 from Mr. Joyce Killebrew. It was his scholarship, and she got $1,000 from Jack Johnson, and his organization. You know, he was the executive director of Prince George's County. We really were appreciative of executive director of
Jack Johnson.
yes, for his contribution.
That's amazing. I don't think I
And
knew that.
also Moses, Mr. Moses, and Tony Knox were very helpful, and so many people were helpful. Everybody was rushing to help me for some odd reason.
Well, I think people really wanted to galvanize around such an amazing event and pageant, and I think, you know, especially in Prince George's County, one of the most affluent, you know, black and brown counties in the nation of America, is people, like I said, like they really see the beauty of something like that, I would say.
Yes, and Queen Leah went international when she's a doctor now. She won the pageant and she was going to Howard, Dr. Sonia Anijas, and she was born in New Delhi because, you know, as you know, we had Lalita Matawani of Pune, India, who was the executive director of the Queen Leah Literary Achievement Pageant. So,
amazing. Yeah, and I remember participating in it. You know, we helped walk down, you know, some of the pageant members, queens. Thank you, Granny. Queens down, and you know, they were talking about the things that they wanted to make an impact on, and you know, how they were going to contribute to society, and what they were going to do with the scholarship. You know, why they were running as a pageant. There was entertainment. I mean, it was fantastic.
And this young lady was the actual first Queen Leah, and she is now a social worker, a very nice social worker. So we were doing things that would inspire these young ladies. And Mr. Robert Gatewood said it was very, very, Gatewood Marketing said it was very, very inspirational. And he did a website for us.
Excellent. Here is a book called Reverend Lot Carey, Americo-Liberian Hero of Crown Hill. And so this was another book that, you know, my granny, you know, was the author of, and I actually had the opportunity to do the illustrative cover of this book. And, you know, I remember, I was, I don't know, maybe like 9 or 8 years old. See, I was close, but she has very good memory.
It was assumed that my grandmother was related to Lot Carey because her name was Lot T. Carey before she married my granddad. And folklore and tales said that she was named after Lot Carey and that he was a relative. We had a lot of relatives with the Carey name. But my genealogical report has not proven that. But there still might be a possibility because some of our relatives and everything were lost. Many of our relatives never really reconnected. And that's why I wrote the little book, Disconnect, Reconnect. So everything is sort of coming together now that I've gotten older and wiser.
Awesome, I love that. And while we have it, here's another book that I helped. Actually, I was the author of, actually, and also the illustrator, obviously under the help of my granny here. And this book is called My Granddad Mac, and I think I wrote this in grade school. So it is an African American heritage book. And this was really my first swing, I guess you could say, at writing. And, you know, it talks a lot about, you know, just how, to me, my granddad Mac was my superhero, one of my superheroes for sure, you know, and just in terms of his young career as a man who worked in a factory, who was an entrepreneur, who had a great and famous sweet potato pie, you know. And so I really enjoy, this isn't the original bound copy, but this was, you know, later, you know, mass produced as the bound copy. I don't know where we have the original, but it's probably at home somewhere.
The original is in
it's probably at
his proclamation.
Okay. But yeah, so this was a great book that I remember writing, and there's actually a couple, you know, I can show you all, you know, just some visuals I did, and I mean, I was only in grade school, but this, to me, I'll pass this on to my kids, and they'll be able to read, you know, what their father was able to produce, and with the help of his granny. So,
and he's a copyrighted author. This book is copyrighted.
Yes, yes. Got to get your copyrights, ladies and gentlemen. Got to own your IP. Very important. Great. So I want to talk a little bit about your book, Disconnect, Reconnect. And in that book that you have there in your hand, it talks a lot about, obviously reconnecting across the diaspora, but a lot about love, healing, and overcoming. Can you tell us a little bit about the book?
Well, this book was inspired when I was a patient at Wheaton Care Center in Silver Spring. And I realized that really all people are one people, but basically Africans and African Americans and other African descended people are really not connected. And family issues are strong. This is why I was obsessed with proving my father was my father. Because families should work together, strive together. But there's so much competitiveness and discord in the families. And I'm even noticing in the dominant society, more and more people are striking out, hurting each other, and even murdering each other for money. This is not right. We are people, and we need to connect with all people. Right now, I know that I'm a multicultural, semi-Pan-Africanist, and I have no animosity for anybody, because on this book, I begged for a plea for atonement for the ex-slaves and the ex-slave masters. Because as I've grown, I've had white people who've done tremendous things for me. I've had African people who've done tremendous things for me. And I'm just a universal person, and I want to spread universal love. Thank you so much. I just wanted to bring in this book right here.
Yeah, let's talk a bit about this.
I think I'm the only educator who saw that I got this private loan from Sally Mae. When my grandson was attending, my older grandson was attending the University of Penn State, they changed that loan into Navient, which is a very, very poor loan. And the only way you could get out of it is almost death. It has put so many American children into jeopardy where they can't buy a house, they can barely buy a car. I don't think that's fair. But in looking over our history, so much has been done to the African Americans in this country who were under the thumb of the dominant society. And there is a knowledge, my knowledge, that it appears to me that the dominant society wanted to keep Black people as perpetual slaves. In my husband's proclamation, and
Start again there. In my husband's proclamation. Is that here?
Yes, it's there. Okay. In my husband's proclamation, I researched, even after he had told me all this stuff, because he loved to read, and he just about made me his Pygmalion. And if you don't know what a Pygmalion is, it's someone that someone else creates. And Mr. Mac Lawrence Killebrew was a sergeant in the World War II. And this man just about dominated me, but he taught me everything about what it was like to be humble. I was a braggadocio, but this man was humble. He was inspirational to his family and to his nieces. He has 2 nieces that he's very inspirational to, and several other people. But Black Americans have fought in every war in this country, even before it was a country. Crispus Attucks was actually, after he died, they made a purse out of his skin. That was the most detrimental thing I've read. Also, in researching some of the things and going over it, there was a place in Mississippi where they actually put a lot of Black people in a pit and actually starved them to death. It's called a punch bowl or something similar. These things hurt. It was no reason for any race of people to treat another race of people like they did not only the Africans, but the Native Americans, who kept them from starving to death when they came over here on the Jamestown, to settle Jamestown. It is a dirty, rotten shame, some of the things that have been done to people by indigenous, who are considered indigenous people, which most people just disregard them. We are all God's creatures, and we are all human beings. This is not right, and it's a dirty, rotten shame that this has existed, and they want to sweep slavery under the rug, but the wound has not healed. And I learned that when I was at Wheaton Care Center. I had a diabetic wound, and if a wound does not heal, it fills with pus, and that pus spreads, and it creates a society where the people actually hate each other for no reason other than colors. Because I also recognize that the Southern bigots used the slaves or blamed the slaves for the Civil War. They had created this alien aristocracy here in America, patterned on the British people, who were really not such good people. And I know my British ancestry stems from John Cosby IV, who was married to Sarah, yet he cohabitated with his slave, Maria, and that's how I came to be. I'm not proud of that, but I'm not responsible for what other people have done or will do. I'm only responsible for what I do and for the certain guidance we have in our families. Mm-hmm. And I would say that we are due justice for what we have worked and earned for. I know all of my people work like very, very hard. My grandfather worked breaking rocks in a quarry. That poor man did not need to do that hard work for pennies. We need to stop being hateful, because my husband was a World War II veteran. Yet during World War II, the German prisoners could eat in cafeterias that he would not have been allowed in. And something happened to him in Waco, Texas that he never really wanted to divulge to me. We are people, and we're going to rise, because we've only just begun to live well and prosper.
You wanted to thank a few more people?
Yes.
You know, that was a part of your journey, pivotal part of your journey?
Yes. I would like to thank you and my other grandsons for being
absolutely
great. Cornell took care of me. You taking care of me with this project, and Brandon Jamal Killebrew came up from Atlanta to help me, and when I was ill and needed someone to help me, and I've gotten out of the Wheaton Care Center, and a whole lot of people have helped me. Mrs. Michelle Obama sent me a personal letter.
Your son? And
of course, Richard, who is a son. He's in my new book that's coming out. He's been instrumental and my doctors appreciated him, Dr. Pointer, and my other doctor, Dr. Bang. And so I've just been blessed. God helped me and carried me when I couldn't carry myself. And also, I would like to thank President Obama for his saying we're all one people. And also, I'd like to give a shout out to Reverend Dr. Lester Brown, who told me that he's blessed to be a blessing, and it's something that I ended the proclamation with. And of course, Godspeed to my late husband, whom I adored. He was my sunshine. And my parents, Gertrude and Archie, and of course my stepfather, who made it possible that I could go to school and everything, and my sister, and just about everybody. So I say this to Americans: get it together. Stop running around trying to keep black people down. We've been downtrodden with the black coats, and We have given a lot to our country because this is our country too. We help the people, the dominant race, steal it from the Native Americans. And I have proof of that because I even know about the Buffalo Soldiers. And there's so many people. A shout out to Kelly Porter, who wrote a story, a compilation of her father, Alonzo Smith, and all the stuff he had to endure while in the military, in the Navy, and discrimination and all that stuff. A thank you to Harry Truman, who sent my husband a letter for his service, and also integrated the military. Now, we fought for this country. We are dynamite people, and we deserve a lot of praise and admiration for what we did for our country. Christmas addicts fought for the country even before it was a country. It was a colony then. And they used their skin to make a pocketbook. That's insulting. So God bless America for what you have done, but you could do better.
Mm-hmm.
We all need hope, respect, and justice for all.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you. Thank you, America, because you did provide me with education. And I have been working hard to impact and to improve the educational system. And that now beyond student loan should have been abolished. President Joe Biden tried his best to have it abolished, but somehow it's still there. There are many Americans who have struggled to get a college education. Everybody deserves an education because through books we learn so much. That's why I majored in reading at Trinity Washington University. Thank you, God. Thank you, America. And God bless America and Africa. Let us all come together and know just what Obama said. We're all one people. Thank you so much. God bless you.
All right. Thank you all. Stay tuned for more content. And thank you, Joyce, for this interview. I appreciate it.